I am joined now by AJ Cassavell, who does a wonderful job covering the San Diego Padres, the hometown team here, AJ, for MLB.com. And first I have to ask you, that mystery team apparently was the Pods coming in at a allegedly, reportedly 10-year, $400 million deal for Aaron Judge. Were you surprised at that kind of late push and that they were in the mix?
I'm never surprised when the Padres are in the mix with AJ Preller because they're in the mix for everyone. They do their due diligence, but this was, and with Trea Turner and Aaron Judge now this week, these were serious offers. And so the reported figure, I don't know that the Padres ever got that far as to making a formal offer and actually going, here are the dollars, here are the terms, here's what we're going to do. But they met with them last night for a couple hours, and they were serious discussions, and I think they kind of came to the conclusion that, hey, we want to be in this, and ultimately Aaron Judge ended up picking New York.
I don't think you could have offered any amount of money. I think Aaron Judge wanted to be in New York, and the New York Yankees did just that, getting him back there. What does that mean for the Padres in terms of, are they in on the shortstop market? And, of course, another free agent, if you will, is Fernando Tatis is coming back. You don't know what you're going to get, but that's a pretty good get as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the Padres need a bat, and it's become very clear that they're willing to go any avenue to acquire a bat. I mean, they were after Trea Turner, they were after Aaron Judge. The top of their lineup is as good as any in baseball with Fernando Tatis Jr., Juan Soto, Manny Machado. But after that, the lineup depth is a little thin, and they lost some first base options. They lost Jurickson Profar in left field. They need to fill out that lineup, and they want to do it with a big-time option. Now, there's obviously a lot of good shortstops still available. I would consider the Padres in the mix for just about anyone because A.J. Preller is who he is and because they've shown a willingness to spend. If they add a shortstop, that creates some questions. But the fact is they have Jake Cronenworth, Ha-Sung Kim, and Fernando Tatis Jr., all of whom are versatile enough to play at other spots, to move around. Fernando Tatis Jr. doesn't have a set position going into the 2023 season, and I think they're kind of waiting to see how the offseason shakes out before they decide on that.
And let's be very clear, it's not as if the San Diego Padres are missing out on a lot of things. They're in on Aaron Judge, they're in on Trea Turner, but this is a team that has gone for it and has done very well in terms of acquisitions over the past few years.
Yeah, and we're getting and we're going to see a full season of Juan Soto in San Diego. Let's not forget they got him at the deadline, and he wasn't necessarily the Juan Soto they had hoped he would be in the maybe August, September. He was very good in the postseason, had some of the bigger hits in the postseason, and a lot of guys on this team and around this team have kind of said, hey, you get a regular spring training, you get used to kind of the routine in San Diego. If you get a season of Juan Soto, the guy we came to know in his time in Washington, that's a scary mix. You'll throw Fernando Tatis Jr. back in there. The top of the Padres lineup is high end. The top of the rotation is high end. This is a roster that has real high end talent kind of across the board, and a number of holes still to fill, and they've looked to fill them. A.J. Preller has not been able to do that yet.
The San Diego Padres are a dangerous team, definitely a formidable team in the NL West, making the NL West a lot more fun when there's competition with the Giants, with the Dodgers, so on and so forth. And let's not count out the Diamondbacks and what the Rockies are doing too. Okay, are they in on anything as far as the starting pitching market is concerned? Carlos Rodon looks to be the best free agent starter left on the market. Will he be in San Diego?
So they're not out on anyone because they are the Padres. I would say I think maybe the next tier of starter, there's a few of those guys available. I know several of them have kind of come off the board in recent weeks, but the back end of the Padres rotation is kind of what needs filling out. And so if they were to spend big on one of these shortstops or a hitter, maybe they look to add 2 or 3 different arms to the back of that rotation. Because the Padres had a lot of success in 2022 by building a rotation that was 7 guys deep, and so in the first part of the season they could kind of take their time. They could use a 7-man rotation, and then when it got down to it at the end of the year, they had a fresh bullpen. They had 3 starters who were healthy who could lead them into the postseason, and they were able to beat the Dodgers kind of as a result. So I could see them signing multiple starting pitchers. A.J. Preller even said as much the other day, multiple starting pitchers. I don't know how high-end they would go on those guys, whether Rodon is an option, but the Padres have said they're willing to if they have to eat the qualifying offer penalty, they're willing to do so.
Well, they do have the money. They've shown that. I mean, imagine if you get Carlos Rodon in a rotation with Snell and Darvish and Musgrove. That is a pretty sick rotation.
Yeah, and like I said, the front end of this rotation is outstanding, and they proved it down the stretch last year. Snell, Darvish, Musgrove were great in the playoffs. They kind of didn't have the depth toward the end of the year after having traded Mackenzie Gore and with Mike Clevenger and Sean Manaea falling off a little bit. But the Padres rotation should have the kind of the pieces to be really good. They added Nick Martinez already this offseason. Adrian Morejon will get converted back into a starter, but they view this as a more than 5-guy. They need to go 8 deep, and so they've kind of they've thinned out some of their depth in the system. This was the last 4 or 5 years. The Padres were always farm system depth. It was the best farm system in baseball. It no longer is, and they don't quite have that upper level pitching talent to kind of fill in for these guys. So they need to be active on the starting pitching market in the next couple weeks.
All right, AJ Cassavell covering the San Diego Padres for MLB.com.